Hey, welcome back to the channel, everyone. Although I don't personally own any real estate physically, I own a little over $4,000 in paper assets or stocks, which make up about 6.5% of my portfolio. These real estate investment trusts, or REITs, are a great way for investors to share in the profit that regular real estate involves without having to put down a 20% down payment and deal with all the headaches and management of being a landlord. Us investors are pooling our money together to fund management teams to operate in the various types of real estate and pay us 90% of taxable income by law in order to keep getting that favorable tax treatment by the government. Real estate has made more millionaires than any other asset throughout history, so I'm hoping some of that magic wears off as we try to build that generational wealth. I have 4 main REITs which pay me every single quarter, and we'll briefly go through them and give an update on how they're doing towards what is hopefully the last leg of this shutdown. The first REIT that I own is Realty Income, not Reality, and I'm sure most of you have heard of this throughout the YouTube community. It's a monthly dividend paying company. Invests in single tenant commercial properties throughout the United States, Puerto Rico, and UK. We're talking about convenience stores, drug stores, dollar stores, gyms, restaurants, and unfortunately movie theaters, which probably won't make it out of this year intact. They've actually done a great job though at collecting rent throughout this pandemic. We can see here, across their whole portfolio, they're collecting nearly 94% of all of their tenants' rent, and their collection with the top 20 tenants and investment grade tenants who will have better balance sheets are actually quite impressive. Movie theaters are by far the industry that is the most hurt, but other than that, it looks like most of these other industries are able to pay their rent on time and stay open in some form of capacity. I see this as a huge positive that might not necessarily be reflected in O's share price. Though them issuing new stock recently to raise $500 million to buy more property certainly did not help their stock price. But that should be even more future revenues to fund their already impressive dividend, which they have paid for 607 consecutive months. Yes, even through the 2008 housing crash. At just under a 5% dividend yield, O looks very intriguing here, and I'm definitely considering buying a boatload of shares. I currently own 14 shares of Realty Income, which currently pays me a little over $3 a month, and altogether that's annual income of $39. Just like you should be cashing in when you hit that like button and subscribe to help a small-time YouTuber out, it's very much appreciated. This next stock is a big player in the hospital and healthcare scene, which is always going to be big no matter how the market is doing. That would be none other than Medical Properties Trust, ticker symbol MPW. They are among the world's largest owners of hospitals, owning over 385 properties across the globe, found in 33 different states and 9 countries. Most of their revenue comes from general acute hospitals at around 80%, followed by inpatient rehab at 11%, and long-term acute care at about 2%. This is a great sector to be in because business is always going to be booming, regardless of the market conditions. Their adjusted funds from operations is actually up 50% year over year. MPW is constantly acquiring new hospitals across the world with no plans of slowing down anytime soon. According to their latest earnings call, they said they are collecting on virtually all contractual rent and will fully expect to collect the small amount of rent that has been deferred. Doesn't seem like the C-19 is causing many issues with this particular company. Now, MPW has raised their dividend each of the last 7 years, currently yielding over 5%, but its stock appreciation has almost doubled in the past 5 years. Since its IPO back in 2005, it has returned considerably more than the market. High capital appreciation, high dividend yield, that's the best of both worlds. I currently own 57 shares of MPW, bringing me in about $62 a year, but I plan on adding more to this company throughout 2021 for sure. Next is the company that has actually returned me the most in share price appreciation, even though I only own 2 shares of them, and that would be the data center REIT Equinix. I've made more videos in the past on how great of a growth REIT this company is, so be sure to check out that video if you want more info. Equinix is actually one of the best performing stocks of the 21st century. Data centers basically house all the servers and network equipment companies have. This technology needs to be held somewhere where it's safe and in an environment where it will be cooled and not overheat. Equinix will own the land and build electrical systems and AC units to house all of this network communication systems. This is an international company with their 227 data center locations all around the world and constantly growing. They have also increased their revenues year over year by around 8% while the world is going through a pandemic. And hey, let's look at this. This is probably what's most impressive, is that they've actually increased their cash dividend quite substantially over the years, but their payout ratio seems to remain about the same. According to the latest quarterly earnings report, the C19 did not have a material impact on the company's financial statements. They actually granted $9 million for its data center employees to purchase work-from-home equipment. The C19 means more and more companies will be working from home, and that means they're going to need even more space to save their documents, cloud storage, plus all the extra strain from video conferencing. Equinix has delivered 71 straight quarters of revenue growth, and while it may only pay a 1.5% dividend yield, it's going to be putting up more fantastic growth in share price and future dividend payments. I currently only own 2 shares, as the share price itself is quite lofty. I'm really hoping that they do a stock split soon, but that does bring me in a little over $21 a year. And the last best REIT stock I own is Store Capital, made famous by the YouTuber Joseph Carlson, as this is actually one of his biggest holdings, but I've actually owned them since the spring of 2018. This is actually the only REIT that Warren Buffett holds in his portfolio. Store owns real estate mostly in the service, retail, and manufacturing sectors, having nearly 2,600 investment property locations by 511 different tenants. So think food services, early childhood education, gyms, auto repair, pet care, medical centers. Some of these are obviously more impacted by C19 than others. The good news is, per their last earnings call, they're still collecting 90% of its rents and has a very impressive 99.6% occupancy rate. Store is a net lease REIT, which means it owns the single tenant property and the tenant is responsible for most of the operating costs. They've actually had a year-over-year tenant revenue growth of 12%. They've also made $250 million in new investments during the past quarter. Its dividend is very well protected with its strong funds from operations, and the management team certainly seems to make it a mission to raise that dividend yearly, which in the past 6 years has gone up 44%. While Store has certainly had a roller coaster 2020, it's still down from its C19 highs. It now offers a very juicy dividend of just under 5%. I currently own 25 shares of Store Capital, bringing me $36 annually. Cody fans, this is where you really get to shine because I'm still looking for more of a residential-centered REIT. You know, the more typical mom-and-pop real estate where you're just renting out to a person as their main primary residence. I want a REIT like that where it's more residential-based. And then I'm also looking for more of a manufacturing REIT, one where actual industry and business is being produced there. So if you know any good ones for these particular sectors, let me know in the comments below and I'd love to check them out. I'd also love to hear about your real estate investment portfolios and how much money you're making from them. If you have any questions, please be sure to leave them in the comments below, and also don't forget to like the video if you've enjoyed it and subscribe. Until we talk again next time.